This is Net News Network headline news for Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. Pfizer was granted emergency use authorization today for children ages 5 to 17 to get a booster shot. They say vaccination continues to be the most effective way to prevent COVID-19 and its severe consequences, and it's safe. If your child is eligible for the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine and has not yet received their primary series, getting them vaccinated can help protect them from potentially severe consequences that can occur. In January, the FDA authorized Pfizer's booster shot for children ages 12 to 15 who completed their initial two-shot series. This means younger children who received the second of the two-dose series before December 17th are now eligible for the booster. Only 28% of kids aged 5 to 11 are fully vaccinated. They are claiming that child hospitalizations are up and that you should get them boosted. However, if you look at the healthdata.gov pediatric COVID-19 hospitalizations by state on the last reporting date of May 17th, May 17th, actually. Do you know how many children were reported to be in the hospital for COVID-19? 171 in the United States. Is it necessary? Think about that. U.S. inflation is at a 40-year high and has maintained this high now for some time. President Joe Biden on Wednesday said it was heartening to see a moderation in the annual figure, but the fact remains that inflation is unacceptably high. You think? Inflation is a challenge for families across the country, and bringing it down is my top economic priority. Well, Joe Biden, what are you doing to bring it down? Probably one of the biggest things hitting America is the rising gas prices because of inflation and other factors, one of which is the fact that the Biden administration is exporting a large amount of it to Europe because they convinced Europe to cut Russia off. U.S. LNG exports rose 13% in the 3 months from November to January compared with the same period a year earlier, while gas production was up by less than 5%. Meanwhile, Biden is canceling oil drilling contracts in Texas and Alaska with no help in sight there, I guess. You have rising prices at the grocery store along with food shortages to boot, even though the media will tell you there's no food shortages. But just flipping through some headlines this morning, there's chicken shortages, egg shortages, beef shortages, baby formula shortages, which you're aware of. And in fact, they're sending pallets and pallets of baby formula to Mexico. There is a potato shortage, of all things. And they're also sending tons and tons of potatoes to Mexico while we have a shortage. They haven't been able to send potatoes to Mexico for 25 years. But now, while we have a shortage in this country, we will go ahead and send them to another country. Makes sense. We have diesel and gas shortages. There are water shortages all over the Southwest. There's microchip shortages. And meanwhile, they continue to send billions of dollars to the Ukraine for this war. When are the Americans going to get some relief? U.S. authorities on Monday announced the discovery of a major drug smuggling tunnel running about the length of 6 football fields from Mexico to a warehouse in an industrial area in San Diego. The secret passage from Tijuana to San Diego featured rail and ventilation systems, electricity, and reinforced walls, authorities said. It was discovered near San Diego's Otay Mesa border crossing in an area where more than a dozen other sophisticated tunnels have been found in the last 2 decades. 6 people ages 31 to 55 were charged with conspiring to distribute cocaine. All are Southern California residents. U.S. authorities said it is unknown how long the tunnel had been operating and what amount of drugs, if any, got through undetected. They seized 1,700 pounds of cocaine, 165 pounds of meth, and 3.5 pounds of heroin in connection with the investigation. The latest passage discovered Friday ran 1/3 of a mile to Tijuana. It was 4 feet in diameter and about 6 stories deep. It's just insane to me that this stuff is going on, and the border is wide open, and the federal government apparently sees no problem with this. A House panel met for the first public congressional hearing on unidentified flying objects in more than half a century on Tuesday, with top Pentagon officials saying the number of unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, reported by pilots and service members had grown to about 400. Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security Ronald Moulter and Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence Scott Bray testified before a House subcommittee about how the Defense Department is organizing reports of UAPs after a congressionally mandated report released last year found most of the incidents analyzed remain unidentified. Last year's report, released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the Pentagon's UAP task force, found no evidence to suggest the objects are extraterrestrial or from a foreign adversary. Well, where did they come from? But the report also could not explain most of the objects. Investigators were able to identify one of the 144 reports analyzed in their study of unidentified objects as a large deflating balloon, but the other 143 reports of UAP from 2004 to 2021 remain a mystery. There is little doubt that the unidentified objects are real objects, whatever they may be, because at least 80 of the 144 incidents were detected by multiple sensors, the report found. UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security, the report said. Lawmakers were shown several videos of UAPs. One was a spherical object that quickly passes by the cockpit of an aircraft. The other was a triangular object floating off the west coast as seen through night vision goggles. This is the last congressional hearing on UFOs was held in the 1960s before the disbandment of Project Blue Book, a U.S. Air Force program that investigated and analyzed reports of UFOs. The project lasted from 1947 to 1969 and was disbanded in part because the objects were found to pose no threat to national security, according to an Air Force fact sheet. The government has gotten a lot more open about UFOs in recent years, and whether they are real or not, or where they come from, I have a funny feeling that this is going to be some sort of crisis in the next year or two. This will be the next crisis that's used to control people around the world. This has been Net News Network Headline News. For more, visit netnewsnetwork.net. Thanks for listening.